Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Mayberry, banjoing while Rome burns. We are the show about trying to understand what is wrong with the world today by watching old-timey television, specifically The Andy Griffith Show. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Martin R. Schneider.
I'm the other one, Dan Ludwig.
And today we have a special guest, comedy writer Jordana Lipitz.
Yay! Hi!
Joining us from Los Angeles because Jordana is a wordsmith, one might say.
Ooh.
Good at the English language.
Mm-hmm.
Mistress of letters.
So friggin' good at English.
That's right.
Yeah, and we've brought her on to talk about the episode that involves horrible sexism and somewhat the subject of weed.
Yay!
Barely! Barely
Yeah.
the subject of weed. All right,
Not enough, really.
Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's just launch right into this since we're doing a oneer this time.
When I pitched Jordana coming onto this one, I kind of sold her a lie because I was like, oh, come on and do the Reefer Madness episode, which I remembered it as being. And I forgot that they mention weed once and then the rest of it is just sexism.
Well, here's why you thought that, Dan. Normally we do like an intro and then I read the one-sentence summary from Wikipedia, but I'm just going to go right to the one-sentence summary right now. So this is episode 29, Quiet Sam, directed by avid stamp collector Bob Sweeney.
My favorite Peaky Blinders character, Bob Sweeney.
and written by two guys we haven't seen before, Jim Fritzl and Everett Greenbaum. So this airs May 1st, 1961. And here's the one-sentence description of this. Barney is suspicious of reticent farmer Sam Becker, actor William Schallert, who we'll talk about in a second. So he convinces Andy to investigate. Barney thinks Sam might be growing marijuana. Now, I read that description, and I thought, just like you, Dan, I thought, yeah, we're getting a Reefer Madness episode from the Andy Griffith Show, and it's horse shit. It's a lie.
Yeah.
It's mentioned once. Once. This is technically true, but it is not what the episode is about. And it's not like the Wikipedia one-sentence summaries have ever shied away from just spoiling everything before, so why now? Why be vague now?
It's super weird. It's like they're trying to, like, basically trick us specifically into getting into this episode. Jordana, I owe you a weed ep.
I think it sounds like it's like, you know, there's this institutionalized belief that, like, weed is taboo. So, like, it's in the Wikipedia article.
So, all right. So do we have anything we want to talk about, promote? Make sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/breakingmayberry. Still trying, we have a lead now on a copy of Chrome. So we're going to be doing that probably for a bonus episode for our Patreon subscribers pretty soon. And Dan and I are also talking about other plans for bonus stuff. So check that out. Let's jump right into this. All right, so Quiet Sam. Now, our guest in this episode is William Schallert. He plays Sam Becker. William Schallert had a pretty long career. He just died about 2 years ago. And he was the Screen Actors Guild president for a few years in the late 70s, early 80s. He was best known for being on the Patty Duke Show, and he was still working up until very recent. He was on episodes of Two Broke Girls and How I Met Your Mother. So
what the fuck?
So
what?
Wow.
This dude is also one of the few people who was in both the movie and the TV version of In the Heat of the Night. So yeah, Schallert had a very long career, and you know what? He's not a bad actor. We've seen bad character actors come on this show. And he's one of the better ones. He's no Robert Golden...
R.G. Armstrong.
Yeah, he's no R.G. Armstrong, who we saw last week, but he's not bad. All right, so our episode begins with Barney stepping out of Floyd's barbershop. And as he's walking out, Floyd is walking out with him, and Floyd stops him and notices, oh, wait, Barney, you're a little lopsided, and proceeds to, like, trim him up right there on the street. Because
shitty barber.
He's a terrible barber. He's the only one in town. And Barney notices a truck that is relatively close to a fire plug, and thinks it might be a possible infraction, so he does the Barney Fife thing and measures with his feet to make sure that this truck is parked within the law. And it is,
which
within
is
2 inches of the law.
PPA bullshit. That, like, the parking attempt was clearly a very good faith attempt to park it as far away from the hydrant as possible, and he's measuring the individual fucking inches to try to get him a ticket. Like,
yeah, for our listeners who are not from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Parking Authority pulls bullshit like this all the time. They are so notoriously crooked and annoying that there's an entire television show dedicated to their horse shit.
I've never seen the show. Everyone always says there's this show, but nobody knows what it's called, and I haven't seen it. So I think that it's one of those things, you know?
Like an urban legend?
Yeah.
Like everyone in Philadelphia knows about this show, but no one's ever seen. It's like those weird S's that everybody drew in the 4th grade in the 90s.
Oh, yeah!
Nobody knew what they meant. No one knows where they came from.
Signs.
I mean, it's like, hey, you know that group of people that you hate and make your lives miserable on a regular basis? Want to see the ins and outs of their day-to-day life? Like, no, I don't want to know what the PPA does with their day when they're not fucking with everybody.
I think you're right, Dan. I think it is called Parking Wars, and I want to say it was like on True TV or Crime TV or one of those bullshit channels that you get with a DirecTV package that no one ever watches.
Yeah.
Marty, I have a really serious question. Did you say fire plug?
I did say fire plug, and the reason I said fire plug instead of fire hydrant is because that's what they refer to it as on this show.
A fire plug?
Yeah.
The South is a strange place.
More specifically, a fire plug.
Fire plug. I mean, do you think that's a South thing or that's an old-timey thing?
No, dude, I think... Okay, so here's the thing that I think that the listeners and you both should know. Like, the Andy Griffith Show is very dear to me because, A, my grandpa looks just like Andy Griffith, and I really feel like this should go on your Twitter. He's dead now, but he looks like just like him, and, like, also, like, Mayberry is, like, a glimpse into Chatsworth, which is Georgia, which is where my people are from, my mom's people, and it is terrifying, the things they say. The crap that these people come up with, these words. Fire plug? What is that? I'm irate.
I wasn't sure if you were saying like they're like stuff like fire plug or if you were talking about racial slurs.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously not great for that stuff too. But I mean, like, the sayings they have. It's like, does the sun like make you come up with fascinating words?
I'm glad that you said this, Jordana, though, because I've been wondering a lot about like this idea of Mayberry, which is like a southern town that people have based their identity about, like said it's things are like Mayberry, except Mayberry was created by dudes who lived in Los Angeles and London that were writing these episodes. I guess people assume that because Andy Griffith himself was a southerner, that it was like southern accurate, but I've always wondered about this because Andy's not writing the episode.
How much of it is improvising though? Like the word is Barney Fife from the South?
Yeah, they're
or the real guy, whatever his real name is.
Don Knotts. Don Knotts is definitely not from the South.
No, whatever. Okay. Anyway, they say weird shit and it upsets me.
I mean, I can't imagine people in current America saying fire plug. It just sounds too vaguely
fire
sexual.
Plug.
Don Knotts was born in Morgantown, West Virginia. So
okay, that's
on your definition of the South, he's from the South.
South-esque? South adjacent?
Yeah. He's South adjacent. Yeah. He's definitely on the other side of the Mason-Dixon, so
Okay.
All right.
Well, all right.
Okay, listen, Jordana, if you're upset by the word fireplug, we're never getting through this.
Okay, you're right. I'm so sorry.
The term boiled as an owl has been used for
Bald like an owl. I heard that one. That one upsets me too.
They do some damage to the English language over the course of this show.
As a wordsmith, it hurts my soul, truly.
So Barney observes that this truck is legally purchased and that that this truck is legally parked, and that irritates him. And he says, "Whose truck is this anyway?" And Floyd tells him, "Well, that's Sam Becker's." And Barney basically responds with, "That weirdo? That fucking weird guy? I should give him a ticket just to make him talk. He doesn't say anything. He's lived at that farm for months." So basically he's building up Sam as like the creepy old lady that lives at the house down the lane. Like, he's been here for months. No one knows anything about him. Again, it's like a stranger came to town and we're very suspicious of him.
Every time. And they already set up the dynamic of Barney is upset by this guy for weird reasons and is willing to abuse the shit out of his power to get in his face.
Yeah, Barney has nothing to do with his time, so he says, "Well, I'm going to just bug this guy until I get him to talk about anything."
I dislike this man for arbitrary reasons involving his social engagement, and I'm going to go to any lengths to just, I don't know, make his life slightly harder.
He demonstrates this as Sam gets out of the grocery store, loads up his truck full of groceries, and begins to try to drive away. And Barney sticks his head in the window of the truck practically and is just like, "Hi, let's talk about groceries. See, you got some groceries there." Like, it's the most desperate pickup attempt I've ever seen. Pickup attempt. I didn't even mean to make that joke, but it's a... See, because...
March into the sea. I swear to God.
See, because it's a truck, also known as a pickup.
He just comes up to him and is like, "Hey, you're putting groceries in the back of a truck," and Sam just goes, "Yeah," and then walks away, which is the correct response. Just like, "Hey, you're currently lifting things with your human arms." Yes, I am. Okay, goodbye. You're not having a conversation with me. You're just stating simple facts, you toddler.
Okay, hang on. Dan, you just sparked an idea in my head. If Barney Fife is an alien occupying a human body trying to understand how humans function, then so much more of this show makes sense. just slide that in there, including his general appearance. That was the first attempt they had at making a human suit.
So it's like the pug in Men in Black.
Yeah. Yes.
It is 100. It's the bug in Men in Black, but they did a worse job. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Sam drives away, and Andy comes over, wondering what Barney's up to this time. And Floyd leaves. And Andy and Barney have a small conversation where basically Barney explains his whole deal, why he's concerned about this. Says that this Sam guy has all the characteristics of a criminal.
The facial characteristics of a criminal. And then he describes his skull shape.
Yeah, that's some racist shit, is what's going on right there.
Fucking phrenology right there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Chill out, Nazi Don Knotts. Oh.
Don
Nazi.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'd say we're less than minute 10. Jordana has just justified her guesthood.
Hi, I'm Don Nazi. I can't do it. I can't do his voice. I try.
No. Oh no. Wait. Take another crack at it because the Don Knotts impression is surprisingly deceptive.
Okay, hold on. Hi, I'm Don Nazi. Manhunt! Huh?
You sound like Sandy the squirrel from Spongebob.
Oh my God.
Alright, so.
Yeah. You over-southerned it a little bit, but other than that, it good.
Alright.
Good on you for coming at it swinging.
Thank you.
Alright, so the next scene, we are at the Griffith home, where Andy and Aunt Bee and Opie are closing all the windows and they're preparing for an upcoming storm, 40-mile-an-hour wind, get your nerves all tucked in, which ultimately proves to be pointless and useless to the plot. It's mostly irrelevant.
Yeah, just there needs to be a storm to provide some vague sense of stakes.
Yeah, it makes it a little more dangerous.
And there are none. Like later on, they had a perfect chance to use the storm because a doctor is needed. And they don't say the doctor can't get here because of the storm. they say the doctor is out of town. You had the perfect opportunity to make your storm relevant to the story and just whiffed it. Like, well, this storm is pointless.
They do use it as a great opportunity for Opie to be dumb as hell, but also really metal. Opie's stupid little ass thinks that if you put 4 pennies outside and they get struck by lightning, they turn into quarters, which... Dream bigger in terms of what you believe in magic, child. Like, he's like, so fucking stupid. And he believes this because a 4-year-old told him to him. He was like, that Nat Pike told it to me. And Ampy says, he's a very small child. And Opie says, well, he's been around plenty. I'm getting increasingly... He's such a stupid little fuck.
Fun fact, though, Ron Howard still to this day believes anything a 4-year-old tells him.
Yes.
Take that, beloved Arrested Development producer Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Does he have children? Like, he
has an adult daughter.
Right. Okay, so here's the thing, though. Like, he believes this. Do you think his wife was, like, sat him down and was like, Ron Howard, if you keep believing everything our 4-year-old daughter tells you, I'm going to leave you. Do you think, like, that might have happened?
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
I would say 90% certainty that she had to threaten divorce because he was just internalizing everything. The Andy Griffith Show warped his relationship between reality and fantasy. It's completely gone.
I mean, in fairness, the Andy Griffith Show warped a lot of people's perception of reality and fantasy.
I mean, that is the point of this podcast. So
that is
you
true.
really hit it on the head there.
So what is it that Andy or that Opie actually believes, Dan?
That if you leave pennies outside and they get struck by lightning, they turn into slightly more money. Not like they turn into like wild dogs or they turn into electric metal pennies. They just turn into like a quarter. Which, like,
it's not even that,
like
it's 6 cents. They just multiply their worth by 6. Lightning has a 6x multiplier on this.
Yeah, I guess if you were doing it as a get-rich-quick scene, but then he should be like, I want to leave, like 200 pennies outside. But no, he's just like, let me just do this magic real quick in our backyard for no gain whatsoever.
Opie's the guy who would sell his cow for some magic beans, but then eat the beans anyway.
Yeah, no, he'd just be in it for the journey. He just wants to know that he had magic beans briefly.
Oh, that's really beautiful, though. I mean, he just sees joy in the little things, you know?
He sees joy in the little things, and also just kind of is rad about it. Like, he just believes the slightly most badass version of the world. Because Opie is a little savage.
May we all be as badass and idealistic as Opie. Alright, so... Enter Barney, who asks to see Andy alone, and Aunt B goes, well, I'm gonna leave this episode now.
Aunt B out! And then Andy gives Opie a handful of pennies to just chuck in his backyard, and Opie pieces. Barney makes his argument for the Becker case, which proceeds to be some Gestapo bullshit. He runs through everything he knows about Sam Becker, does not know his profession, which Andy quickly just says, he's a farmer. And Barney's like, okay, well, I had no way of knowing that. Anyway, I pulled his purchasing receipts at the grocery store, which, what? How did you do that? Who let you do that?
Ellie.
Oh, god damn it.
Ellie doesn't believe in warrants.
Yeah, Ellie doesn't give a fuck anymore. She's been broken down by this horrible town.
Yeah.
But he runs through his purchasing history, and it's like tranquilizers, bandages,
sterilizers.
Talcum powder. And Andy is like, well, what do you think that means? And Barney says, you wouldn't recognize a muddy elephant in the snow. Which, again, with the animal metaphors, that only vaguely makes sense.
I really loved it when Andy was like, you think Sam's got an elephant up at, he says, up his place. It was beautiful. I can't do it the way that he does it. It's gorgeous.
Up to his place?
Up to his place? Ugh.
Andy Griffith's Southern accent is an entirely different language. We've tried to varying degrees to replicate it. I think we've only ever gotten a piece of it.
I mean,
he's
so Barney's treating these purchases like the smoking gun. It's like he found him buying like large amounts of fertilizer or Sudafed. Like he's really treating this like I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, tranquilizers are pretty weird. Like, why are you buying that?
But why are they selling tranquilizers at the grocery store? What the fuck?
I mean, she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
She sells what she wants.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, no, give me 2 pounds of horse tranquilizer at the grocery store that we allow children into.
I wish that there was just a spin-off of like Ellie running a black market out of the back of the pharmacy. Just like Ellie gives you the fucking hookup. Oh god. You go to Ellie's place to get the good stuff.
Like, partway through an Andy Griffith scene, just a meth addict just comes up and be like, hey, do you still have anything in store? And Ellie just has to, like, grab him by the collar and be like, you don't come up to me during my day-to-day life. You don't pull this bullshit.
Did they have meth back then? Is meth new?
I think they had classic meth, and then in the 80s they rebranded with new meth.
Got it. Coke classic.
Yes.
Meth classic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Personally, I liked in the 90s when we got meth clear. You can't get that anymore, but they brought it back last year for a small promotion. So Barney's instinct is that Sam's got a man up there with a bullet in him. Now, Dan, you wrote Barney thinks Sam has a corpse on the notes. I wonder, like, I don't know if it's a man up there with a bullet in him.
That's gotta be a dead body, right?
I heard that, and I thought that, like, because of the stuff that he bought, there was a man up there with a bullet in him that Sam was treating, like, taking care of, like he had been injured in a shootout, like at a bank robbery, and he was up there, like, nursing this dude back to health as they got him. That's what I thought.
But don't you take the bullet out? I guess it depends.
Yeah, no, I guess maybe the disinfectant would be like he needs to disinfect the bullet hole. I heard it as like, okay, so he has a dead body up there that he's trying to dissolve.
He didn't buy lye.
That's true.
Ellie's got lye though.
Oh yeah, no. Ellie's
like, the fucking Gustavo Fring of this universe.
Ellie can get rid of a dead body.
Oh,
you don't
absolutely.
even have to buy the stuff from her. You just roll the body up to her and it's gone.
So anyway, Barney convinces Andy to go up with him in the middle of the night, and so Andy says, fine, it'll, like, sate your curiosity, let's go. They drive up to the farm, they're in the squad car. I will say, Dan, a couple of episodes ago, we saw that really nitpicky bullshit on the ultra-reliable Mayberry wiki about the, like, nighttime filter that they use to try to darken stuff and turn broad daylight into night. Yeah, this is one of those. This is one of those where it's like, it's very clearly the middle of the day, but they put a filter on the camera to make me think that it's night.
Is it shooting day for night? Do they shoot, like, does it happen while they're shooting that this filter is on?
Yeah, so the guy from the Mayberry Wikipedia that we use points out that what they started doing was it that they would film during the day and just put some bullshit over the camera?
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So they don't do it after. Yeah. They don't do it in post-production. They do it during shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And they're just like, these
because I think their
idiots.
logic was just like, it's black and white film, no one's going to notice. And for the most part, it works until you see a light source on the screen.
Right.
Like, when you see a light source go on.
Their strategy so far for establishing nighttime is to just show a thing and then have Don Knotts off camera go, it's currently nighttime.
I will say, though, it's one of those things that unless I know to look for it, which I do now, thanks fucking Mayberry Wiki, I wouldn't have noticed it. So anyway, they drive...
They're watching Sam plow.
Yeah, Sam's plowing in the middle of the night. He's out in his field, up on his plow. By the way, speaking of the ultra-reliable Mayberry wiki, somebody fucking wrote how this is a goof because the tractor isn't working right and they're not plowing correctly. I'm not going to read it.
It's a fucking tractor. He's on it doing tractor shit. Like, what? Yeah. These fucking Mayberry wiki nerds.
Barney asks, or Andy says, well, he's clearly planting something. Barney's like, yeah, what's he going to plant, huh? Andy's like, I don't know, lima beans? There's all sorts of stuff. And this is where Barney says, or marijuana, which is the only reference we get to marijuana in this entire episode. Thank you very much, Wikipedia.
Yeah, no, it's like he says it briefly, and Andy just goes, no. And then they keep going. Which, like, I don't think this episode even, like, understands how growing weed would work, because does Barney think that he could just like grow a field of weed and just no one would see, like, hey, that's fucking pot?
Yeah, you have to like, that was something I've watched some movies about it, and like, you have to grow it next to stuff, like sometimes like right next to it, like under it almost, which makes it hard to cultivate because it does need, anyway, whatever.
You have to have, like, a grow operation. Yes! You have to be doing it, like, in a basement or out in the woods or some shit. Like, Barney just half-asses this entire hypothesis. Like, I can't tell if Barney doesn't know how growing weed works or the show doesn't know how growing weed works.
Well, it's okay, because we're about to encounter something that the show does not understand how it works in just a second. So
Childbirth.
That's the surprise. Guess what? This is an episode about childbirth that centers entirely around 3 men. So let's roll on through this shit. So they're watching Sam plow.
They're watching Sam. He runs inside. Andy promptly dismisses this for stupid bullshit.
He gets a signal. Like, the lights flicker on and off in the house, and he jumps off his tractor and runs, like sprints for the house. Which is admittedly kind of suspicious, but yeah, Andy just says, "This is horseshit. Let's leave."
He wants coffee. I just really want, like, Andy keeps being like, let's go back to the office so I can have coffee. And it's like, someone get Andy a freaking coffee.
No, he says it, like, with such with such cruel relish. He's like, you're gonna go on patrol, and then I'm gonna go back to the office, and I'm gonna go drink a fucking coffee, you fucking moron.
Jordana, I have to ask, because of the voice you just did.
What?
Do you think that the Andy Griffith Show is the cast of Spongebob?
You know, maybe SpongeBob seeped into my subconscious, you know?
You can listen to Jordana's podcast Under the Sea, which is about the SpongeBob SquarePants series. All
right.
Jordana's podcast, No, This Is Patrick.
Oh my god.
Okay, so the next shot, we return to the jail, and Andy is comforting Otis, who is scared of the thunder, in a very endearing moment for Otis that also makes me go, wait, did they just leave Otis there alone the entire time?
What?
How long has he been there?
So Andy's trying to calm Otis down, and his explanation is, the thunder has nothing to do with you, that's just clouds bumping together. And, alright, so even when I'm at my drunkest, I'm still an adult. I know how thunder works. I don't lose several years of my, development. Like, what the...
Yeah, it made me wonder if maybe Otis is not only an alcoholic, but maybe someone with, like, mental disabilities that they just, like, let drink himself instead of getting him the proper help. Whew.
Yeah, it's entirely
That's
possible.
Actually an incredibly real possibility.
I mean, mental health, they either, like, at that time, they either, like, shipped you off to a place, or they just said you were queer. So, like...
Tell me about the rabbits, Barney.
And also, another thing about Mayberry that I think about all the time is, like, so, you know, those small southern towns, like, everyone was addicted to medications because they didn't have... like, the FDA and wasn't as invested down there. So they were taking all these weird, like, morphine and stuff because they were told that it would make them feel better. And poor Otis. They make disenfranchised people, like, life so much harder at this time in our history that Andy Griffith's show is modeling.
So before you give Otis too much sympathy, he does beat his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I remember that.
They gotta factor that in there.
Yeah, no, I feel like that should be a disclaimer. Just like, I know Otis is super charming this episode. Just remember, he beats his wife.
Just
sorry.
An asterisk, a footnote on everything we ever say about Otis Campbell, who is, like, despite, like, I almost want to say Otis is my favorite character, but he can't be because of that.
Yeah.
So
ruins the best character.
So Andy gets a very sudden phone call, and it's Sam, and he sounds like something's very urgent, and Andy says, "All right, I'll be right there." He tells Otis, "Hey, if Barney comes back, tell him I went to the Becker place."
Leave a fucking note, Andy. Don't trust this intel to a drunken child.
No! Why are they using Otis as, like, their administrative assistant?
Right.
He's so drunk he doesn't understand how weather works. Oh my god, you're right! What the fuck is he doing?
So the next two scenes kind of just, they introduce new information, but they kind of reiterate what's going on. We are at Sam's house, and Andy has learned that Sam's wife, Lily...
Never pictured, not pictured, just not there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Remember that
Never
name or
existing.
don't. Yeah, she doesn't exist. We don't actually see this woman. Is having a baby right now. And he's been like too tired or too exhausted to think about anything else but the baby for the past couple of months.
Alright, so cut back to the jail where Barney is yelling at Floyd over the phone. And he is telling him to get a bunch of guys together and meet up with him and go to Sam's house. And Floyd responds, he's in his pajamas at home, terrified, and he says, "I've never been in a posse before, Barney. What do I wear? Should I bring anything?" Barney is rounding up a posse to go to a dude's fucking house with weaponry. And he punctuates it by saying, "That's a civic order." Floyd responds by saying, "I don't have a gun. I can get a really heavy stick that my wife uses to prop a door open." And Barney says, "Are you trying to stall? Are you trying to get out of this? This is your civic duty to help me go to a guy's house with a bunch of guns and a bunch of dudes for vague reasons." So this is some backwoods totalitarianism bingo that Barney is currently checking off boxes for. Monstrously illegal that a police officer is enlisting citizens for a violent raid on private property. Also, especially when it's demonstrated that they can call the state police at any time. They've done it on several occasions, but Barney specifically wants to get a bunch of scared, frightened, armed dudes from town because he wants to fucking murder them.
The state police would be like, "Go back to your meth-ridden town, Barney Fife," you know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't call them, because they'd be like, "All right, well, you're a moron who... why are you calling us?" So instead he gets a frightened barber to get a bunch of dudes together.
Barney does get a phone call from Andy, but Andy's call gets cut off because Sam thinks his wife is going to labor right that moment. And says, something's happening, and he hangs up the phone on Andy's end. So Barney begins to panic. His instinct is, "Oh no, they nailed Andy while he was trying to call me." So he starts to load his gun, and he runs out, and he puts Otis in charge. He's like, "Otis, you know what to do, you've been here enough," and then he runs off. Otis may have then hung himself in the jail cell. We don't know. We don't see him for the episode.
Yeah. Oh, he left the guy who's currently afraid of thunder alone in a jail. With many guns.
Yeah.
So probably fine.
So, alright, so this is where we get to what the episode is actually about. So, Andy and Sam walk out of a room, like the kitchen or something, the other room, into the living room of Sam's house. And Andy says, "You're gonna have a lot of false alarms. Now you just relax." And he tries to get Sam to sit down, and Sam doesn't want to sit down, so they kind of push on each other a little bit. Barney is watching from the window. He doesn't hear them, so he sees them, like, starting to fight from what he can see.
Well, it doesn't look like a fight. It looks like some light shoulder touching, and they cut to Don Knotts' expression of pure horror. It looks in no way like a fight.
So, Barney loads his gun. He prepares to open fire. He's, like, about to storm the door when Sam opens the door. By the way, how many fucking Sams are in this town? Just realized that. And
there's a lot of them.
Barney charges in and runs straight into a wall with a loaded gun.
In a house with a pregnant woman. So he tries to break down a door in the worst way to break down a door while holding a loaded gun. And like he already has like a long track record of accidentally firing his gun at the slightest provocation. And there's a woman giving birth in the other room.
Well, maybe. We're told that. We don't see or hear her.
Oh my god, it hurts.
It's the worst representation of child delivery in anything I've ever seen.
So then we fade out, presumably for commercial, and fade back in. And that's where Sam is now talking to Barney and talking. And he explains that, like, he's been too worried to think about anything. He can't leave Lily alone for too long, so he just kind of runs to town and grabs the groceries and comes back in. And, I've just been so worried. And he talks. And Barney says a line like, well, they don't talk much in town, but he certainly talks a lot at home. So now Barney has mellowed out.
I mean, unless there's complications from her pregnancy, like, women do stuff until it happens. Like, women have jobs sometimes, and if there's complications from the pregnancy, maybe you guys should, like, talk to some lady in the town or something, because old ladies love to help pregnant people. And, like, what are you doing?
You've got an entire army of nursemaids, basically. Aunt B will get on the horn and you will have just anything you need.
So
that's what she lives for. She'll just call all of her friends at the Spinsternarium and just think...
Like, why does he keep his wife in a freaking box instead?
She's like in that, like, fucking menstruation hut that old-timey societies would keep women in. Like, she's in quarantine.
I love that concept. I'm sorry. Like, a place where women go to be together when they're menstruating. Good God. That is...
Really? You're pro-menstruation?
Yeah, man. It's a Jew thing. What? That's, like, a thing that they used to do. And it's, like... But it's not because they're, like... being demonized for it. It's like that's when they get to like be all in touch with their like sacred feminine.
I thought it was like quarantining them.
So that's the thing with organized religion. Often like male patriarchal leads make it about that, but that's not what the intent was originally. It's beautiful. They squashed. Anyway, for a long time, God had a female component.
No.
Elaborate if you want. We can edit out as much as this we need to. But yeah, no, fuck. I thought of that as like the ultimate symbol of patriarchy, that like we would like segregate menstruating women, but I sort of saw that like replicated in like them like putting her in the pregnancy shed.
Well, let's go ahead and get into this, right? So we've established we're not gonna see Lily or hear her. She's apparently having a very quiet. Those tranquilizers that Sam bought really fucking work.
I loved having a baby. It was real easy. I'll have another one, I think.
She's doing the fucking crossword puzzle the entire time.
But like they keep referencing like bandages, strips of sheet, and boiling water. They keep saying that over and over again. You know why? Because this was written by men in the 60s. And for men in the 60s, that's what they know childbirth is. I get boiling water, I stand in a room for a little while, and then there's a baby. Like, no research went into this. Nobody.
It honestly feels like they forgot that women are involved in pregnancy. Like, it feels like they were, like, the writers were, like smoking after, like, having finished the episode, but, like, real good one, and someone just was like, oh, yeah, so who do you get to play the mother? The who? No, damn it! oh my god, we forgot to put a woman in there. Like, it's like they temporarily forgot that, like, the child doesn't come out of a primordial tar pit.
It's really frustrating because, like, you know, most sitcoms do a childbirth episode at some point in time, and, like, Barney and Andy doing their vaudeville shtick as they try to deliver a baby would be a funny episode. There's a lot of opportunity for comedy there. Instead, we get boring war stories.
So my mom actually explained this to me recently. Until, like, all throughout the 1960s, you couldn't show a pregnant woman on TV. Like, a woman, you couldn't have a woman at any stage of pregnancy whatsoever because it implied that she at one point had sex and there was a connection between sex and having a child.
Wasn't Lucille Ball the first woman to be pregnant on screen?
Maybe. I know that the first couple to sleep in the same bed was the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Dick Van Dyke Show were contemporary, so we're about the same time, right? Well, yeah, it's still early 60s.
Bald on-screen pregnancy may not have been the first in television history. Mary Kay and Johnny beat it to that distinction back in 1948. And that is from AV Club. Guys, Phil Dias Nugent. There's a lot of writers, and I'm not going to name them all, but that's one of the writers of this article. Okay.
But so the like, it was a normal thing that you couldn't show pre-childbirth, but I think the surprising thing about this is you couldn't even show post-childbirth. Like, you couldn't show a woman having had been pregnant.
Like holding the baby?
Yeah.
Right after? Interesting.
Yeah, no, like, during that entire period, it's like she just like becomes like a vague concept of a mother. Like, it's super weird. Like, you sort of see the boundaries of public consciousness from this.
So let's go ahead and, I mean, I don't want to get into many details with this bit because it just kind of repeats itself over and over again. The important part you should know is that the doctor can't get there, not because of the storm, but because he's out of town. And Andy is going to be the one who delivers. Barney is stressing about this because, as he points out, Andy flunked biology when they were in high school. He couldn't dissect a grasshopper, which, you have frogs. Whatever.
Yeah, this town, if we know one thing about it, they're up to their tits in frogs.
It is. They are like 7 plagues of Egypt level of frogs. Like,
yeah, frogging is like one of the top 3 pastimes of everyone in town.
Oh my god.
But Barney is also being such a little prick because he's like, Andy, let me explain why you can't do this at all. But also, I'm not going to help, and there's no other options. I just want to tell you that you're gonna fail. End of sentence.
Equating a grasshopper to a child is really upsetting.
It's gross.
A child's birth, dissecting a grasshopper versus, like, killing a being and opening it versus bringing life into the world? Like, what is wrong with you, Barney?
You couldn't even dissect a grasshopper. How are you supposed to eviscerate this baby?
Like, Andy's had sex before. Like, he at least once.
That's true, but you gotta figure Andy was probably not present for Opie's birth either.
That's true. Ugh, he was just, like, smoking a cigar outside.
It is a valid possibility that no one involved in the making of this entire episode of television has any idea how childbirth works.
No, and did zero research. Did not ask any doctor.
They all think, everyone from, like, director through writer through actor thinks, all right, so what childbirth is I sit in a room and I'm kind of anxious, but then I talk about the war, and then a baby comes out and everything's good, and then I smoke.
Bob Sweeney is many things. We've listed all the many things Bob Sweeney is. He is not a gynecologist. Not a gynecologist, Bob Sweeney.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely beyond the realm of possibility that Bob Sweeney has any idea how a vagina works.
So So in order to calm Sam down and distract him, Andy has the idea that we're going to talk about Barney's military service, which is a goddamn retcon. So it turns out Barney never actually went overseas during World War II, which kind of blows away our PTSD theory about Barney.
Yeah. I'm furious about this, because that's how I've been explaining his bullshit the entire time.
May I present a new theory?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so this is World War II, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Barney and Andy served in World War II.
Yes.
But Sam served in Korea.
Right.
Which is very weird to hear, because it's weird any time the Andy Griffith Show reminds you that technically it's 1961.
Yeah.
Okay, back into my theory. So, right, at this time, there's this thing where if you don't go overseas, if you didn't go at all into the service, people would fucking spit on you, right? Like, mothers would be angry with you that you weren't over there fighting. That actually happened to my other grandfather, my Jewish grandfather. He couldn't serve, and people just looked down at him. So for a while, he had kind of a chip on his shoulder. And Barney still served, but I'm sure he suffered from a little bit of I didn't go overseas.
But so he was walking around. Where was he? He was
Staten Island.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was walking around Staten Island during the war the entire time, and people thought he wasn't serving, and he was working in a fucking library.
I mean, even if he was wearing his uniform, people might just be not as impressed by him because of that. There's so much of your dick level was measured by your service at that time.
Oh, so he's
a solid theory. This is why he's overcompensating.
Yeah.
Because he didn't serve, or he did serve, but because he didn't. Again, I keep referencing Hot Fuzz. It's the proper action and shit. The Nick Frost bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he never got
has
the
this
action.
Constant hunger for confrontation, because he's been instead of being traumatized, he's deeply emasculated.
Mm-hmm.
While guys like Andy were over in Europe, having what he imagines to be this badass pulp adventure that he wish he could have participated in, he was in Staten Island getting spit on by passerby because he wasn't man enough to go to war. That
tracks.
kind of works better.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you for that new theory.
You're welcome. I will be here for the rest of the episode. If you have any more, anything else. All right.
Any more fan theories you want to toss off?
Hey, but
we've got
actually
Barney as an alien.
Here's a good opportunity. If you have fan theories about the Andy Griffith Show, email them to us, breakingmayberry@gmail.com, or send them to us on Twitter @breakmayberry. I want to hear your fan theories about the Andy Griffith Show. Tell us where you think Ellie goes. Or tell us why you think Barney is the way he is. Let's hear them.
Wow.
Right.
Also, we are going to be reading fan fiction at some point. We found a treasure trove.
Those are bonus episodes there, too. Patreon! All right,
the Andy Griffith versus Batman one fucking rules.
I'm sorry, what now?
Andy Griffith fights Batman in one of the fan fictions.
Wow.
They write Batman real weird. It's awesome.
Listeners, you are in for a real treat someday soon if you donate money to their Patreon.
17 war stories later, Andy goes out of the room and he comes back holding a baby. Apparently, that's how childbirth works.
Yeah, just pops out.
Do you think that the baby got screen time because it was a boy baby? If it was a female baby, they just wouldn't have shown it. They would have been it's a healthy baby girl, but she's in the room still because we don't like women.
To be
Definite
fair,
possibility that it would just been oh, look at this adorable pink swaddle that we're not going to zoom in on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But he comes out and he hands it to Sam, and Sam is oh no, I'm afraid to hold the baby. I'm going to break it. And Andy coaxes him to take the child, and he's just all right, well, I'm just going to hold here and stand nowhere near my wife. This is a moment just for me.
She doesn't need any comfort. She didn't do anything today.
She's cool, I bet. She doesn't want to see the child that she just made. You know what? We'll both enjoy this moment separately. I'll enjoy the baby in the living room, and then when I'm done with it, I'll bring it to the bedroom so that she can know that her child is okay. We'll get around to it.
What is he thinking? Like, is he thinking that he's never gonna hold the baby ever? Like, his wife was bedridden, and he had to take care of her. So, like, why is he like, oh, I can't hold... You're gonna hold that baby, because your wife is feeble.
Nut up and hold your baby, goddammit.
I'm just... Sam's holding this baby, and he's just like, I can't believe that I get to have this and share this moment with the most important person in my life. The sheriff of the town that I live outside of. And his weird deputy.
Two guys that were planning on arresting me on trumped up charges slightly earlier in the episode. My best friends.
So Andy says, all right, Barney, let's get out of here. Let's go outside. I need to have a smoke. Smoking on television, with a newborn in the other room. That's cool. Open windows, whatever.
Yeah, it's so weird that this is the first episode where we see Andy smoke.
Yeah, he just lights up right outside there. And that's when they notice, oh wait, Floyd is there holding a fucking brick, and he's got several armed men behind him.
Including the mayor. The mayor is there, he is armed, he is ready to kill people, my pudgy little gangster. He is fucking adorable, and he is wielding a double-barrel shotgun, which is definitely loaded with marshmallows.
Barney calls off his posse, and Andy says, did y'all know that Sam's a new papa? 8 pounds, whatever. And this is where, Sam comes out and he says, hey, I need some help. I can't get Andy to stop crying. He revealed to us that he named the child after Andy. And I broke my television.
Like, was it Andrew or just Andy? Did you name your child Andy? What?
Yeah, he did not think out this birth certificate.
He was like, well, there's a lot of Sams in the town, so I guess I'll just add a few Andys.
Which, he just yelled into the bedroom, hey, child hole, the child's name is Andy. And then just walked up, be like, he didn't ask his wife for help, quieting the child. He was like, hey, do you know, never mind, I'm gonna get the only person in this town I can rely on.
Yeah. And so, the stinger of this is, impromptu bluegrass festival, I guess, in celebration of baby Andy's existence. Also,
Aunt B and Opie roll back in, and the Aunt B finally. I think this is actually the first time that Lily gets named is by Aunt B.
Of course it is. Of course, Aunt B is the only one who considers the woman.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Lily did a great job having this child, and Opie is, demanding to be allowed to hold the kid, which, no, you had the right idea not allowing him to do that. He's a tiny caveman.
So I saw your note on that, and I was like, how could they not let him? That's how you learn how to not be a toxic man, is, taking on roles that are not expected of you.
No, that ship has sailed with Opie. He's a lost cause.
I don't know if it's so much not giving Opie the baby because that's not what men do and Opie's a man, or as much as it is not giving Opie the baby because he has no spatial awareness or regard for human life.
I don't know.
So,
he's illiterate and has been taught that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I think the ship has sailed on Opie in a lot of regards.
That baby's better off.
Yeah.
I will say, Dan, you are slightly incorrect. To Sam's, minor, the bar is so low credit, he does ask, is Lily okay, after Andy walks out with the baby. So,
okay. All right, cool.
That. And Andy's like, he's fine, and that's it. That's all.
She's not even
she's not dead.
Invited to the party. They're like, oh, well, Lily, go to sleep. And then, there's a fucking, music fest. And she doesn't...
Which, you know what recently delivering mothers fucking love is bluegrass festivals just outside their window.
Yeah.
That is really, like, the best thing for recovering from delivery is just, like, you know, some music, some loud, inescapable music.
And that's it. That's this episode.
Yeah.
That's Quiet Sam. The end. Ratings, folks.
Yeah. Oh,
all right,
God.
so let's do the Andy meters first. How good is this episode? Like, how much do we actually like this?
Oh.
Um.
How low can I go?
It's. We've you know what, we've gone as low as 0, but if you want to go lower, that's your liberty as a guest.
I'm just, yeah, I guess I have a little freedom as a guest, and it's not, you know, it's like the points are made up, you know, they don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys matter, but
debatable.
we're all universes and we matter, but LA. This, I can do whatever the hell I want, and also I'm so angry that I wasted like an hour of my life watching this show twice. I watched it twice.
Welcome to our
So
hell.
I'm angry, and I will vote however I damn please. Anyway, okay. So, I guess I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna do -3. -3, Andy.
-3 for Jordana.
That is such, like, for how elaborate that preamble was, I thought it was going to be so much lower.
Yeah, it was actually really anticlimactic.
Oh, no.
The wind-up on that was very long.
-infinity?
No,
Nope,
we're sticking with
you're sticking with
-3. I've
-3.
already written it down in the book.
All right, now, your Fife score. So how morally reprehensible you found it?
Oh, I mean, so now I'm gonna go 500. 500 Fifes.
All right.
See, this is really funny to me because like having Jordana on here as a guest. So I'll give my scores. As far as enjoying this, like how good this was, I'm just gonna say it was a 3. It's actually a really boring episode. Like it most of the time, even when there's like gross stuff, like most of the time, I'm like, all right, this bit made me laugh. Like even in last week's episode, it was the most sexist thing I'd ever seen on TV, but there were bits that I thought were like good and worth watching. But this one's just like, it's not that interesting. 3.
Last week's one was the makeup one, right?
Yeah.
That is messed up. Okay.
That one was messed up, but it had Robert Golden Armstrong acting his goddamn face off. This one had nothing even close to it.
This one's got nothing on that. And that's why, like, even like by FIFO meter, how gross is this episode? I'm gonna go with an 8. Like, it's not the grossest thing I've seen on this show, but it is still pretty, like, annoying and frustrating and angering. So
it's not the episode being really gross. It's the episode adhering to really gross norms. Like the fact that you can't get anywhere near actual pregnancy on TV. Like, so it's almost like it's not totally the episode's fault. It's just, oh, holy shit, the 60s were fucked up, which we've kind of put together from doing this. But yeah, all right, so Andy's score, I think I'd agree with yours. Like, I think I'd give it a 3. In terms of quality, it's pretty shittily written, and I'd say a 7 just because I'm partially numbed to sexism on this show, and I feel like it was sort of a product of its shitty time.
Yeah, that's all fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So after we're gonna go to a break, and after we come back from the break, you'll hear Dan and I talking about the stuff that we cut out of last week's episode. So that's going to be us talking about the episode Andy Forecloses. But for right now, just a quick reminder, of course, like I just plugged, you can get a hold of us, breakingmayberry@gmail.com, twitter.com/breakmayberry, facebook.com/breakingmayberry. Jordana, thank you for coming onto the show with us. It's been great. Where can people find you and your writing and your stuff on the internet.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to get that out there. You guys are really great. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Again, they're Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding, but I shouldn't do that. It's weird. But me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lipsitz in Giggles. That's the word name Lipsitz, Lipsitz. It is not lip shits. In, the letter in, and then giggles. The joke is, shits and giggles. But again, Lipsitz, not lip shits. But it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so that's there, and
leave every second of that description in the edit, Marty. Every single second. Yeah.
Oh, and also, I am a freelance writer, so hire me. You can check out my work on my Contently. If you Google me, Jordana Lipitz, there's a lot of stuff that pops up. Just check it out. That's creepy.
We'll link to all that stuff in the show notes too.
Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break, and when it comes back, it's Dan and I talking about Andy Forecloses. Thanks for sticking with us.
I'm Clint.
And I'm Jared.
And we're the hosts of the podcast Alcohollywood,
your source for inebriation.
Which you're not listening to right now, because this is just a promo for a weekly podcast on all kinds of movies. New, old, good, bad.
Yeah, especially bad.
Plus, we invent a cocktail and a drinking game inspired by each film.
And sometimes we make jokes. Not this time, but sometimes.
Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and check out the whole shebang at alcohollywood.com.
Hey everyone, it's me, Marty Schneider from Breaking Mayberry. I know you're already listening to me on this podcast, but I wanted to tell you about my brand new podcast, Why Won't You Hire Me? Why Won't You Hire Me is a podcast about job hunting and career building and the frustrations and successes therein. Every episode we hear stories from the job hunting front, as told by people who are currently doing it right now. Hosted by me, your underemployed employment expert. So if you're tired of uploading a resume and then being asked to type in the same information that's on that resume on the very next page, Why Won't You Hire Me is the podcast for you. That's Why Won't You Hire Me, available now on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!
Greetings, holiday shoppers. I'm Joseph Wade, and I host a podcast called Christmas Creeps. My band of merry mischief makers and I dissect holiday movies and specials all year round in search of the true meaning of Christmas. So whether you can't resist the urge to watch Home Alone in June, or you worship at the altar of mutant killer snowmen, Christmas Creeps is the podcast for the Grinch in all of us. Check us out at ChristmasCreeps.com or wherever you download podcasts.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Oh my god. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next episode, Andy Forecloses, April 24th, 1961. Let's go ahead and I will do the one-sentence summary from Wikipedia. Andy tries to help a financially strapped family keep their home, in spite of having to give them a foreclosure notice, initiated by the heartless old mortgage holder, Ben Weaver. Now, if you don't recognize the name Ben Weaver, go back and listen to our Christmas episode, in which we were introduced to Ben, and he is literally Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah, you wouldn't think they'd bring him back because he learns his lesson at the end of it, and then it's sort of retconned that no, he did not. He's just as evil, if not more.
Yeah.
Because he's graduated from having a family arrested to having a family evicted.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit of a backslide. I don't know. Our episode opens up with Barney and Andy in the jailhouse, and Barney is looking for a new notepad or something, a new citation book, because all of his is filled up. And when Andy is confused by this and wants to look at all the citations, he reaches for it, and Barney immediately takes it and hides it under his hat. Because Andy obviously realizes, well, do you have something in there that you don't want me to see? What's going on here?
So it kicks off this weird back and forth that they have where Andy kind of continues to bully Barney, just asking him what's under his hat and then trying to take what's under his hat, and Barney saying, "Don't touch my hat. I'm like my mother. I don't like to have my hat touched." And Andy starts making fun of Barney and his mother.
Barney does the "I'm like my family member" thing a lot, which is interesting. It's like a recurring thing.
I feel like it's sort of a Southern mannerism of you describe the way you are as your family as a way to like cement its legitimacy.
Sure.
Like, this thing I do isn't weird. My entire family does it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So
Yeah.
Andy gets the notepad eventually, and he finds a phone number on it belonging to one Miss Juanita Beasley. Now, we're going to hear the name Juanita Beasley a lot, but we're never going to see her. So she's kind of the Pinky Tuscadero role here. So she's Barney's, like, sometimes side piece.
She is the woman that Barney Fife is cheating on his girlfriend with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, full on. But, like, and the reason that Barney Fife is so embarrassed about her is because she is the waitress who just started at a local diner that Barney is basically sniffing around and got the phone number of and is thinking of cheating on his girlfriend with. And this does not stop. She basically proceeds to be Barney Fife's mistress?
Side piece. She's a side John. I told you.
But it's straight up infidelity. Like, Barney Fife is cheating on his girlfriend, his long-suffering girlfriend, for the remainder of the show. Like, welcome, Juanita.
There's a little bit here. It is kind of funny where Barney's excuse for having this phone number is that sometimes he calls over there just in case there's trouble, because it's like a truck stop waitress. And he's like, well, I gotta call over there because there's all sorts of shady characters. Andy makes Barney do the trouble check right then and there, just to check in and call for. It's kind of funny. It's a good introduction. Let's move into the story, though. Ben Weaver shows up, and he basically says, "Hey, I'm gonna force you to do your damn job for once. I need you to serve an eviction notice." And
which, Ben Weaver's basic role is he's the only person in town powerful enough to make Andy do anything.
Right, because it's implied that he has powerful friends. He's also the richest man in town. Pure capitalism at this point. He has connections, and Andy is afraid of those connections. Ben insists that he's a mortgage owner, and the family that he rents to, the Scobie family, are behind in their mortgage payments. Turns out they're actually only 1 month behind. And Andy appeals. He's like, well, you got to give the Scobies a little bit more time, have some compassion. Ben is insistent upon it. Ben says, no, serving eviction notices is part of your job. You have to do this.
It's the letter of the law. And it's kind of like, this is sort of almost like the most left-leaning the Andy Griffith Show has been so far. Because Andy is immediately uncomfortable with his role as an instrument of the ruling class enforcing bullshit tenant laws.
Yeah.
Because he knows that this is a raw deal. He doesn't want to be sort of the weapon that old Ben is using against this poor family. It's the most class warfare that the Andy Griffith Show has gotten so far.
He's not serving it yet. He's got some time, but he does go over to the Scobie's house to see what's going on. By the way, I want to point out, the Scobies are the same actors that played the Muggins family.
Are you shitting me?
They're the same actors. They lost a son because they had a son in that episode. But yeah, it's the same people. That's Sam Muggins now, who's just now become Josh Scobie. So apparently...
They literally lost a son. There was a horrible sledding accident. They lost a son. And were so grieved that they were like...
They changed their name.
How can we call ourselves the Muggins? We must change our name to a different adorable last name. We shall forever be the Scobies.
And yeah, so apparently Ben just harasses these people no matter what. He just follows them around and like, you may have changed your name, Muggins is, but you'll always be a Muggins to me. Rah. So yeah, it's the same actors that just get harassed by this old man.
I literally have written in my notes, Lester Scobie is a fucking Muppet with a weird haircut. I didn't realize he was the same motherfucker.
It's the same dude.
Why do they keep getting this one guy to be harassed by Ben and also giving him the most adorable names? All of his names sound like Toon Disney characters. Like,
so we come in and we're like, here's this adorable little family. They make some references to the little girl losing her teeth.
They also make references through the little girl's teeth to the fact that at this time Ron Howard was dropping teeth like flies.
Right.
Ron Howard has like 2 molars going, and that's pretty much it.
Right. And Andy makes these jokes about soaking food. Like, the first time he said it, he's like, well, you lose any more teeth, your mom's gonna have to soak your cornbread in buttermilk. Which, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
But
the
he
little girl
keeps
says,
doing it. He keeps making that joke. He makes the same joke with some cookies like 5 minutes later.
And the little girl says, like, oh yeah, all the other kids are making fun of me and your son for how few teeth we have. And he's like, I wasn't listening to the part about someone bullying my child. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so we learned that the Scobies are actually only 1 month behind on their payment. The father, Scobie, he just has had trouble finding work. He's tried down at the mill. He's just not putting it together. So they owe $52.50, which I went ahead and checked. It's $442 in 2018 money.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of change, right? You know, which...
Fuck, Scobie. I didn't realize how deep in the hole he was.
Yeah. Well, $450 for a month's rent on, like, a 3-bedroom house in North Carolina. It's about reasonable, sure.
Yeah, no, I thought he was I thought he was missing the mark by a much slimmer margin.
No.
That's like, for someone on the working class, that's about like a week's wages.
He's paying an average amount of rent. So, but that's what they're behind. And they just kind of, the purpose of this scene is basically to establish that this is a hardworking family that's down on their luck. Look at them, they're very cute, they're trying their best. They even mention that he's picked up some odd jobs and his wife is getting paid to do some ironing. So that's what it is. Like, they're trying hard, they're trying to work, they're trying to do stuff.
And they run through, and Andy goes, have you tried work at the mill? And he says, yeah, there's no work at the mill. Have you tried work at the furniture factory? He says, like, I tried work at the furniture factory, I tried work at the concrete plant. There's nothing.
A lot of industry going on in Mayberry, which is weird.
Yeah. It's weird that he hasn't tried moonshining yet.
He did. We saw the Christmas episode.
Oh, yeah. He's got him coming and going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he already tried that. Ben stopped him there, too.
Fucking capitalists.
Andy returns to the jailhouse. Barney and Andy together come up with the $52.50.
The best fucking thing that Andy has done in this entire show is just out of pocket pay the equivalent of $400 to keep a guy in his house.
Yeah.
It's the best thing he's done in the entire show.
Yeah, so Barney and Andy come up with it, and then Ben comes by to check why that hasn't been served yet. And Andy says, well, you don't have to serve it. Because here's your money, here's the rent, that'll buy him some time. But that doesn't work. Ben's argument is that, according to the contract, since they fell 1 month behind on their payment... Actually, now that I think about it, falling 1 month behind probably means that they owe, like, $25 from last month and $25 from this month, right? That's probably what the $52 is to get them caught up.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
So
anyway...
According to the term of the contract... If they miss a month, they have to pay the entire balance of the house. Is that right?
Yep, yeah. Which is the entire balance of the house was $780. Again, I calculated that one. It's $6,500.
This entire contract is fucking predatory.
It's 100% predatory, and it doesn't get better. So they fall behind. That means they have to pay up everything or be evicted. Which is $6,500. Andy gets at the heart of the matter, which he says basically like, hey, you wouldn't want that land for that new warehouse you're thinking about building, right? Because remember, Ben runs the general store, and that's why he's always like wealthy and a hard ass.
Yeah. Like,
So
he has all this power to throw around. So after that, as soon as Ben walks out, Barney immediately says, like, I know the way to deal with this, pulls out his gun, and I was initially like, oh, hell yeah, Barney, like, let's fucking, like, eat the rich, fuck yeah. And he's like, Barney, how could you? And Barney, like, puts down his gun and starts removing wads of dollar bills from his holster, and then after that, his shirt, and then his shoes, and then his hat, which I don't understand why Barney has so many, like, places to hide money on himself.
You know what he does? It's a JJ Bittenbinder bit, right? Barney's worried if he ever gets money. You want it? Go get it!
Go get it! Here's my hat!
Get a money clip, put $100 in the money clip.
Barney definitely has contingency plans around muggers that don't involve any form of self-defense.
Yeah. Yeah, so then they decide, all right, we're just going to have to raise a bunch more money. I really like this bit where Aunt B comes in and they start planning to have a giant rummage sale. They got to get all this stuff together and they're going to sell stuff to like raise enough money. And Aunt B's 100% on board. She's like, yes, let's go ahead and do this. And Andy's like, yeah, we're going to put it all to a worthy cause. And he leaves. And then Aunt B says, what worthy cause? Because he never told her what was going on. It's a good scene. Like, and Francis Bavier is really funny in it.
It's sort of an anticlimactic, like, take that, rich people, to be like, yeah, no, we're gonna really stick it to you by giving you $780. Like, they're not, like, beating him. They're just like, we'll show you by raising a huge amount of money that you didn't earn to give to you. Suck it, old man. Like, it's the most anticlimactic way of doing the conflict.
So, this is one of my favorite scenes in this entire bit. Andy goes back to the Scobie's house, and he explains the situation, like, what's going on. He's gonna have to give them an eviction notice in about 40... He's stalling, basically, for time. The father Scobie, Josh Scobie, something like that. Mr. Scobie, like, does a Velma Dinkley and is kind of wandering around going, where are my glasses? I can't see a thing without my glasses. To which Andy responds by taking the glasses away and putting them in his pocket because Andy's initiating a con.
Andy does a con!
Andy reckons that in order for an eviction to be served, there has to be a clear line of communication. Now, there's no line of communication if Mr. Scobie can't read the contract, can't read the eviction notice, and Mrs. Scobie is not around, is too busy with all the ironing and all the work that she's doing, and the littlest Scobie can't read...
Sorry. The ironing and housewifing.
Yeah, ironing and housewifing. And the littlest Scobie can't read, so clearly there's no... As long as there's no glasses, then there's no line of communication. And at this point, I'm screaming at the television, oh, now you know the law, Andy! Now you know!
See,
when it's convenient for you, you know every single technicality.
The scene before this, he was like, I'm gonna go read a law book for the first time ever.
Yeah.
But also, this seems like a flimsy fucking legal loophole.
Yeah, like, no, I am not a lawyer, but I do not think you can get away with this.
You definitely can't uphold the you can't arrest me, I'm deaf, defense. Like, there's any lawyer with, like, 2 cents would be like, well, I'm going to tear through this with a buzzsaw. Before the rummage sale, there is a shot in the jail of Opie doing his donation, which is Opie robbed the neighborhood, where he's donating, like, just shit from around the neighborhood, like a pair of broken sunglasses.
Robbed is a harsh term to use, because it's all garbage anyway. It's more that he dumpster dived. Opie is basically a raccoon right now. He comes in with this bag of shit, which is like... He's got this like magical bag of wonders. It's like a broken pair of sunglasses that's only got one lens. Like a roller skate that doesn't have wheels or a buckle, so it's really just a flap of leather. And my favorite is Andy pulls out what I guess is supposed to be a toy gun, but it's like the barrel of the gun is bent all the way backwards as if Bugs Bunny put his fingers in the barrel and Elmer Fudd shot it and then it just bent right back around. Like,
I love this garbage trash child so much. Like, he's basically an adorable little meth head that Andy allows in his house. And it's the best. Like, Opie,
bad teeth, a penchant for just scrapping, zero money, but a clear addiction. Yeah, no, that's...
Opie just it was one scene away from just rolling, be like, so I don't have anything to bring, but I ripped a bunch of copper wire out of the walls of someone's house. Do you think we could use this, Pa?
I found an air conditioning unit down by the river. We can do some good stuff in here. Yeah.
Someone left a radio in their car, Pa. Do you think we could use this?
So then we go to the rummage sale. We get a cool overhead shot that shows the entire jail, and they've just filled it like a flea market. One funny bit I laughed at is Andy comes up to a gentleman who is like playing with, it looks like a pair of like a vice grip or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, evening.
Oh, evening, Andy. It sure is a mighty fine thing you're doing for the Scobie.
Well, we're trying.
How much is this?
Oh, about $3.
What suppose it is?
If I knew that, it'd cost you $5.
Sound like a bargain.
Yeah. Yeah, one of these is nice to have.
I always wanted one.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good gag.
It's a nice little bit. And Barney has his own thing of selling a coat, of being like, this isn't just a domestic coat. It's from out of town. It's from Raleigh. But and you should check out the interior, and the interior is ripped to hell, and he quickly closes, and he's like, the outside of the coat is the only part that really matters.
Aunt B is trying to sell a toaster to the woman who donated that toaster. So I like this bit. I wish this bit had gone on a little bit longer. Matter of fact, just do a bottle episode where it's just the Griffith crew trying to sell shit. I would watch the hell out of that.
I would absolutely watch that.
Ben walks in and basically tells Andy, I know what you're up to. I went and gave them the eviction letter myself, and I read it to them, so I opened up a line of communication, you idiot.
This was the worst plan you've ever had. What the fuck are you doing? But also, why did Ben, if Ben could just read him the eviction notice himself, why did he need Andy?
Intimidation, I guess. Yeah. And that's what he says again. He's like, tomorrow I'm evicting them at noon. You had better be there. Andy gets what is probably the best line in the episode. As Ben leaves, Andy says, when that man's time to go, he ain't gonna go like everybody else. He's just gonna nasty away.
Which doesn't really make any sense.
It makes no sense, but I liked it. I liked the phrasing. Andy goes with Ben to serve the eviction.
Andy has this Hail Mary of basically doing the eviction so brutally that it will guilt Ben into showing mercy, where he rolls into the house and he bangs on the door and he refuses to let the Scobies take any of their stuff. He denies them that they're going to be able to take their plates or their family heirlooms, or any of their earthly possessions. And Ben, who is like, no, they can take their antiques that they got from their dead parents. Andy says, no, if I'm doing this eviction, I get to say how it is, and it is full stop. They are going to go out with none of their earthly possessions. And he explicitly says, don't worry, the daughter is going to become a ward of the state, and I'm sure that oh shit, we probably should have learned Scooby Dad's name. I'm sure the dad is going to be able to put a house together from some loose boards.
Yeah.
And Ben says, is that really going to happen? And Andy says, yes.
It's very weird that, Ben had never considered the consequence of an eviction prior to this moment. Andy's entire argument is just hey, did you know that evictions are bad? And Ben's like, oh, I had no idea. Okay.
it's a really wholesome idea in this, that you can basically shame rich people, because eventually Ben says, well, no, we will not do an eviction. This is immoral and horrible.
So Andy also points out, let's be clear here, Andy also points out that I'm going to make sure you get that warehouse, Ben. Of course, there's plenty of places that are closer to your store, but that's not the point, right?
Yeah.
Again, very weird that Ben never considered building a warehouse closer to his store. Also very strange. But yeah, okay, so that's they appeal to Ben's better nature, which, alright, to be fair, there is precedent for that, right?
No, I mean, alright, so
there's precedent for Ben having a better nature. That's what the whole Christmas episode is about.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, like, this is a very wholesome, nice, like, sentiment that you can guilt rich people into not doing class warfare. In a million years, this plan would never work in the real world.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Can you imagine if a cop's plan to prevent an eviction was to make it as brutal as possible so that the landlord would feel guilty? No landlord would ever fall for that. They'd just be like, yep, it sucks. That child may be crying on the sidewalk, but I needed the room. Like, it's sort of like this weird pinnacle of, like, the idea that you can, like, change rich people's behavior. But it's been like, do you have no shame,
Have you no shame, sir? Have you no decency? Have you no honor, sir? Like, if Andy Griffith were alive today, he would be, like, a hashtag resistance member, just tweeting at Trump all the time.
Andy Griffith would be on Pod Save America constantly.
Have you no dignity?
Yeah, no, what do you have to say for yourself? If we just confront them with their immoral behavior, their better nature will kick in and they'll just decide to not.
DeRay would be shilling for Griffith 2020.
It's, oh my god.
Let's be very clear here. What happens is that Andy eventually runs the CIA, or the FBI, and he's, like, one of the, like, FBI Democrats that's up for election now.
Absolutely. Andy Griffith, if he was alive today, would be constantly tweeting about Robert Mueller.
Let's be clear here. We keep saying Andy Griffith. What we mean is Andy Taylor. We mean Andy Taylor, the character, not Andy Griffith, the actor.
I still refuse to say Andy Taylor just because I have it's always a weird thing that's pissed me off when it's like the blank actor's name show, and then the main character's name is something like Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah.
No, the name is The Andy Griffith Show. The main character is Andy Griffith. You don't get to change the person's name. That's always been, like, a weird pet peeve of mine.
Let's shift to the stinger now, because the resolution for this is absolute horseshit. And it's the weirdest fucking thing.
They're fucking fishing now! Yeah, the stinger is they're back in the jail, and he's going out fishing with Ben. So Ben has decided...
Andy and Ben are going fishing together.
It's absolute horseshit. Like, so this was all just a fucking game to you. That now you guys are going out fishing. I don't care, like, if he decided at the last minute to not do an evil thing. He was still going to evict a family for real estate reasons.
See, that's not even the part that upsets me the most. Here's the part that upsets me the most. Andy says, alright, well, on the way, we're gonna go stop and pick up Mr. Scobie. Ben says, I'd rather we didn't take him. And Andy's like, I thought everything was cleared up now. I thought you guys were okay. And Ben says, no, that's not it. Look, the thing is, I need him down at the general store. We're too busy, so he needs to be there. Indicating that now Mr. Scobie does have a job. He works at Ben's general store, meaning he now works for his landlord, which is the most exploitative thing that could possibly happen. That's not a solution. Like, he's just there at Ben's mercy at any time for the rest of his life. Forever.
And they present it as Ben, like, begrudgingly doing the right thing. Like, they're
this is Ben's charity, but no, it's indentured servitude. What the hell?
Yeah! Oh my god! I didn't even register that. I was like, I read that, I was like, oh, you think it's okay just because you gave him a job? Fuck you. I didn't even realize that he was just doubling down on exploitation. His line was, was, how else is he supposed to pay off that mortgage? It's so indentured servitude.
Also, if you could have just given him a job, why didn't you do it forever ago? Why did we even... Oh, right, because of the warehouse. Whatever. It's just... The characterization of Ben is so flimsy. They just needed a bad guy, but not too bad, because this is Mayberry.
It's the way that a lot of... I want to say, like not centrist Democrats, but people in that general hemisphere see, like, bad rich people in that they're not bad people. They just are people who temporarily forgot to be good people. Like you just gotta, like shake them awake, and then they're totally good people again, and they're fine. Ben's gonna show up like 30 more times, and he's going to be a huge asshole, and Andy's going to figure out a way to hit him on the head with a newspaper, and then they'll just go out frogging or whatever the fuck these people do.
Andy meter for Andy Forecloses. How good is this episode?
I'd say it's around like a 7. It's a
pretty good bit. Well, we also forgot that to mention that Barney calls Juanita Beasley later and absolutely is about to have phone sex, but Andy walks in on him. And that's funny.
Yeah. No,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah. I am actually, in real life, pretty pissed off about Juanita Beasley. I am actually, in my real life emotions, mad that Barney Fife is cheating on his girlfriend, because this is my life now. That actually upsets me. But yeah, no, I feel like it's a solid episode.
There are some good bits in it. Like Ben's performance is always good. I'm gonna also say 7. You know, I have to say that I like it more than the other one. And for like grossness, man, the solution they come up with for my FIFO meter. I gotta say it's a 4 or 5 because that ending where Scobie is now just doubled down on servitude, and just also this like idea that, you know, rich people can be shamed. I'm gonna say 5. 5 5s.
I mean, on one hand, it has really good goals where it wants to like actually talk about class warfare and the exploitation of rent. It makes a really compelling case why just modern real estate is bullshit. But the solution it comes up for it is just some milquetoast, how dare you, sir, bullshit. So I think it evens out to a 5, right? Like, it maybe a 4. I'm gonna say a 4. It lays out a problem in a really effective sense and presents the shittiest solution to it.
So that's it for this episode of Breaking Mayberry. As always, you can get at us, breakingmayberry@gmail.com, twitter.com/breakmayberry, facebook.com/breakingmayberry. You can get a hold of me. I am on the Twitters at Schneid Remarks. That's SCHNEID Remarks. Dan is on the Twitter at The Luds. That's with 2 Ds. And Ron Howard, of course, is on Twitter at Real Ron Howard. This week, hashtag tweet at Ron Howard, I think, tell Ron Howard your favorite bedtime story. We're always seeing him get bedtime stories from Andy on the show. I think it'd be nice if you told him just a little bedtime story just to help him get to sleep. Hashtag tweet at Ron Howard. As always, our intro music was done by Max Ludwig, who you can find online at Sleep Talkie. Our logo was designed by Scribble Emily, who you can find on Instagram. And our closing music you're about to hear is Appalachian Coal Mines by the band Mid-Air Machine. If you really like the show, you can support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Breaking Mayberry. But if you don't want to do that, there are other ways you can support us too. You can share the show with your friends, or leave us a rating or review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Or just tweet at us and tell us you like what we're doing. We appreciate that too. Until then, we'll see y'all down at the fishing hole.
no, he does a serviceable. I mean,
whoa, Genevieve.
Was that an old-timey telephone in the background?
Perfect.
Yeah.
We're gonna need that later. Tell you what, Jordana, can you cue that up? And when I say that Andy gets a call, just ring that.
Yeah, I can. That is something that I can do for you. All right.
Thank you for changing your ringtone to something thematically appropriate.
Perfect. And he gets a call. Ring. Okay.
Okay.